Holy crap, you could not make that commercial in a post 9/11 world. Bomberman's one of those older video game characters that's actually been around a lot longer than some of us may realize. He got his start on the MSX and then worked his way up through there. That being said, I feel like a lot of people my age remember Bomberman more from the N64 era, more specifically from Bomberman 64. It was a new frontier for the pyrotechnic hero since this is the first game that gave him an adventure mode that expanded beyond the classic gameplay. He ran around, solved puzzles, and fought larger-than-life bosses. It was a far cry from the top-down, grid-based gameplay the series had been known for. And the game after the N64 took it even further. However, while everybody talks about Bomberman 64 to some degree, nobody really remembers the second Bomberman game on the N64, and there's probably a good reason for that. It was very different and a little weird. But this is Bomberman Hero. Bomberman Hero is a 1998 video game developed by Hudson Soft, the same guys that made Mario Party and Bomberman. The game was the second Bomberman game on the N64, but the game barely resembled its older brother at all. Apparently this is in part due to the fact that Bomberman Hero wasn't originally going to be a Bomberman game at all. It was originally going to be a bonk game. That was before someone decided the game would probably sell better if it was a Bomberman title. And if I'm being real here, I think I agree. Bomberman's name has a lot more weight than bonk. That was probably a smart choice. That being said, the fact that this game was being developed as a bonk title first explains a lot when it comes to this game. I'll get into that in a little bit, but I also urge anyone that hasn't watched a review on the bonk series to go check that out when you get the chance. You can thank me later. The story begins with Bomberman's galaxy being invaded by a giant spherical death space station that starts attacking planets. The princess of the world, Primus Star, Princess Million, flees her homeworld and tries to seek help from Bomberman and his allies. However, the evil Garroted Empire manages to catch up to her ship and pull her into a tractor beam, at which point she entrusts a top secret disc to her faithful robot buddy, Piebot, and tells him to get the disc to someone that can help. Nope. It's still in there. After that intro, we cut to Planet Bomber, the home of the Bomberman, and also a hero, Bomberman. Is this how the game starts? Really? Just Bomberman standing in a lonely courtyard with ambiance? What's even happening here? Looks like he's standing around waiting to hear news of his wife going through surgery. Anyway, the game puts you through some tutorial stages to learn how to play before throwing Bomberman into the main story. Well, this doesn't look too weird, it's Bomberman. Why are people freaking out so? I keep mentioning that Bomberman Hero is significantly different from other Bomberman games, and the gameplay is no exception here. Bomberman Hero gave Bomberman a power that he has never had before, and to this day has never had again. The ability to jump. If you've never played the games before, then you probably have no idea why this is such a big deal. You see, Bomberman's never been able to jump. It's always been either a top-down grid-based game with 4 directions you can move in, or in the style of Bomberman 64. In the former, there was no need to jump, but in the latter, you had to use bombs strategically to hop across them. The lack of jumping in 64 made the game have more of a focus on puzzle solving. There's still a little bit of puzzle solving in the Bomberman Hero, but because of his movement abilities have been upped, the game is more of an action platformer along the likes of Mario 64. Other departures from the series also include being able to throw bombs without placing them first, and Bomberman having an actual health bar instead of being a one-hit point wonder. The gameplay follows a pretty simple premise. You load into a stage, fight your way through enemies, puzzles, and your own self-destructive nature, and then you try to reach the exit. When you get to the end, you get a score based on how many items you've collected and the enemies that you've destroyed. There's also a few collectibles and hidden stages that you can find by exploring a level. It's pretty much got everything that old platformers of the N64 era were known for, including crappy platforming mechanics. Look, I get it. 3D gaming was a hard transition period for developers. 2D platforming was a pretty easy concept. You got your X and your Y axis, you can move forward, you can move up, bam, instant classic. It was something that was pretty hard to mess up. When we made our leap into the future of gaming with the third dimension, the introduction of the Z-axis completely screwed up everyone. Introducing the Z-axis. Now you can run, jump in every single free direction. Up, down, forward, backwards, left, right, or nowhere at all. It's the new sensation that's gripping the nation. 2D, more like too dumb. 3D is where it's at, so go try it, you losers. Most of the platforming in Bomberman Hero isn't unforgivable, but there's a few things that kinda drove me a little nuts. The first thing being the camera. Bomberman Hero for the most part has a fixed camera on every single stage. You can move it slightly when you're trying to peek around corners or when you're trying to line up a jump, but as soon as you move Bomberman, it'll reset itself back to its default position. And this isn't a big deal when you're moving up or down the screen, but platforming from side to side is a harrowing experience. I mean, other than that, what can I really say about the gameplay here? You're Bomberman. Throw bombs, man. After running through his training, Bomberman's given an assignment by the bomber computer to go investigate a UFO sighting. Wait, so I'm really confused about the hierarchy here. Is the bomb computer in charge? Is Bomberman not the Bomberman? Are they all just slaves to the machine? Is this some sort of Terminator bad future? Are the Bombermen Bombernators? Man, can you imagine how weird that would be if you worked at a place where everybody looked like you, including your boss? Actually, it's more common than you think. You see, when the cats were first figuring out time travel, they sent back a few of their K-1000s to attack us. No one suspected a thing. Their bellies were too fluffy. Hey, I'm just checking in on you guys, telling you you're all doing a great job. And also, your bonuses for this year are not going to be coming through, sorry. Bomberman heads out to the valley where the UFO went down, where he's confronted by this game's rival and recurring boss, Nitros. Nitros says that Bomberman can't have what's in that UFO and challenges him to a duel. Bomberman takes up a fighting position, and then Nitros whips out a scouter for some reason. No, I'm not gonna say it. You know, the fights with Nitros were actually kind of cool, mostly because it made me feel nostalgic for Bomberman 64. Nitros' first fight is really basic. He chases you around and he'll kick bombs out of your way if you let him. It's kind of like having to fight another Bomberman who has more health and abilities than you. And every time you fight him afterwards throughout the game, he gets more abilities and more bomb techniques and just more things to watch out for. I don't mind recurring bosses as long as they feel different every time I fight them, and I think Nitros accomplishes that. After beating Bomb Jita, Bomberman meets Piebot, who explains they need someone to help him save Princess Million. And Bomberman says, "A princess? Sure thing, man. We don't have any girls around here, just ambiguously gendered creatures with pink balls and feet. I'm in." So Bomberman teams up with Piebot to help him get his princess back. He fights his way through a few more levels before coming face to face yet again with Nitros. They have an epic stare down, and it seems it will end in fisticuffs yet again before the true boss of the stage appears, revealing itself as a disco electric catfish. So after defeating Endol, you hop in a spaceship and blast off to the next planet, chasing after Nitros and Princess Million. And that right there is how this entire game is going to play out. Bomberman will land on a planet, fight his way through some stages, fight Nitros and then some boss, and then chase after Million by going to the next planet. Along the way, he'll overcome adversities like killer robots, killer tree stumps, and killer slugs. Yeah, slugs. You wanna know how you beat these things? You throw salt bombs at them. I'm not even kidding. Who even came up with that idea? Look, I like the whole Batman approach that Bomberman has, where he has a bomb for every kind of situation, but come on, where else are you ever gonna use salt bombs? When this job doesn't pan out so you become a waiter at a French restaurant? Garçon? Oui. Garçon, mais est-ce que go needs more salt? Sacre bleu. Merci. Ooh la la. Once you're halfway through each planet, you have a fight with Nitros as he slowly adds more toys to his arsenal in every encounter. And then he gets away for some contrived reason. You play through a few more stages before fighting the boss. There is a little bit of variety sprinkled in with some vehicle stages. In this game, Bomberman sometimes will get a piece of equipment that completely changes up the gameplay. You can get a jetpack that turns the game into an on-rails fighter simulator, a helicopter that lets you carpet bomb enemies from on high, a snowboard level that just will never quite live up to Sonic Adventure 2, which would come out years later, and a submarine level that just sucks. I'm sorry, but submarine levels in this game were just bad. They were easily the worst part of the game for me. On the second planet, you fight some sort of giant Taurus bird, complete with a tacky t-shirt and camera named Baruda. Alright, this one is at least somewhat thematic, but why the camera? What am I supposed to feel about a giant bird with a oh, it's a laser camera. Laser camera. Camera laser. Equip the helicopter, boom, 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 dead bird. Anyway, Nitros gets away with the princess again.
I did it!
You sure did, Bomberman. You sure did. Look, I get that the whole "your princess is in another castle" trope has been around forever, but Bomberman Hero is such a cock tease about it. They parade the princess right in front of your face at every opportunity, only for her to disappear after the fight for Piebot just to show up and say, well, them's the breaks, you better head on to the next world. Also, I'm in the minority here, but I kinda like Princess Million. Not really as a character, but for the fact that she has this disappointed look on her face for the entire game. Every time you see her, she's either happy to see Bomberman, or she looks like someone just told her they don't have any more Fire Emblem amiibos in stock. Oh man, Lucina is my waifu. Also, I say I'm in the minority because as far as I know, Million wasn't a very popular character or well known in the Bomberman universe. This was the only game she was in, and given how divisive some fans were over this game in the first place, it shouldn't be surprising that she too faded into obscurity. After all, she was just that, a flat damsel in distress character that only existed to be saved by Bomberman and to be a copy of Princess Peach. Well, flat in the character sense anyway. You better be careful, Bomberman, this was 90s gaming, those things will put your eye out. So Bomberman tracks down Million on the third planet where he finds her being held captive by a giant sphinx with cannons on his back named Bulban. Bulban has used his magic to turn Piebot to stone and now challenges Bomberman to a battle. You know, a giant talking sphinx is probably the most tame thing we've seen in this game up until this point. Maybe this will be a straightforward... So Million gets taken away again, and Piebot is restored to normal after being a statue, and Bomberman heads to the next planet, this one being ice-themed. Upon landing, Piebot says that Louie is nearby and that he's a lot of help. Louie? Louie? Who are we talking about? Louie Anderson? What the heck is the... Oh, I guess that's him. Upon spotting Louie, Piebot suggests riding him. Wait, what? Why? He wasn't looking to help you. He's probably going home to his beautiful kangaroo wife and children. Why are we subjugating this innocent creature to be our mount? Just a little bit of trivia. When I first played this game, I thought that Louie was the name of a character, but no, Louie is actually the name of this thing's race. They actually first appeared in Bomberman 94 and have been in the series ever since. They're basically this game's version of Yoshi in that their only purpose is to be Bomberman's mount. There's even official Super Bomberman 3 art that shows Louie being hatched from a spotted egg. Look, Hudson Soft, I'm not saying you guys straight up ripped off Mario with this, but you kinda did. Louie's segment is a straight up platforming segment. You can't get off his back, but Louie can jump super high and kill enemies by stomping on them. You can also do a wall jump to reach the upper parts of the stage, but the game never really tells you exactly how to make that work. You do get a hint saying that it's something that Louie can do, but no instruction on how to actually do it. And if we're still on the subject of Mario ripoffs, it's almost like Hudson Soft was just like, what, Mario 64? You've played Mario 64, right? It's the same thing, just do what you did in Mario 64. And you know, I know Mario didn't invent the wall jump, but come on, Hudson Soft, you're making me draw the obvious comparisons here. Shortly after that level, you play a snowboard segment. Are we not close to the end of the game? Are you telling me that they're still throwing new concepts at me? First Kangaroo Jack and now 1080 degrees? It's like they're making this game and in the process of putting ingredients into a blender, someone came along and just knocked the whole bowl in. And then rather than start over, they said, screw it, and went with what they had. That's what making video games is like, right? It's like making a smoothie. The snowboarding segment is pretty awkward to say the least. It's not just a snowboard that Bomberman is riding, it's a rocket-powered snowboard. It only goes forward when you hold down the right button. If you let off the throttle or take any damage, you immediately lose all your momentum. Needless to say, this level was pretty annoying, and I tried to get through it as quickly as possible. This didn't help my score any, but I don't really care. Hey Bomberman, wanna come over here and get this crystal worth 500 points? No, bye-bye. Then after getting through that disaster, you play through another flying level that's pretty decent, and then you go through this stage. You have another fight with Nitros, who laments that the Garridan Empire just can't find that last top secret disc. You know, the one they talked about for 2 seconds at the beginning of the game and then never really brought up again. After kicking Nitros's butt, you get a message from Million that says that she needs Bomberman to find the last 3 remaining discs and bring them to her. So he does. And then after forking over all the discs to Million, she sends them all to the Garridan Empire. Surprise! This woman isn't Princess Million at all. It's actually Nadia, a furry woman that dresses in black leather and uses a whip in combat. Yeah, there really is a subtlety to that, is there? You thought we wouldn't notice you putting your BDSM persona into this game, Hudson Soft, but we noticed. Oh yes, we noticed. The fight with Nadia is a little bit different from the other bosses. It still involves bombing the crap out of her until you win, but you also gotta deal with her giant spider robot first. Also, unlike every other boss in the game, Nadia doesn't explode when you beat her, she just kinda falls over. Not sure why. After you beat Nadia, you finally save Princess Million. Unfortunately for Bomberman, his job isn't done yet. He still has to head to the Garridan Empire's fortress and finish them off for good. So Piebot takes Million back to Bomberstar, and Bomberman heads off on his own to Garridan to take them down once and for all. On Garridan, Nitros uses the discs to revive their leader, Bagular. Again, not sure what these discs are for. Did they compress his body into a bunch of different JPEGs? You know, that can do terrible things to the image if you do it too much. At first glance, Bagular might just look like a Darth Vader ripoff. And at second glance, he definitely is a Darth Vader ripoff. That being said, he's actually from an earlier Bomberman game, Super Bomberman 3. Bet you didn't know that, did you? In order to reach Bagular for the final showdown, Bomberman has to fight his way through all the bosses of the game one at a time yet again. However, this is more than just a simple boss rush, because all the bosses bring something new to the table. Some of them, like Endol, have a few new attacks, but others like Maruda and Bulbin are completely different battles taking place on completely different playing fields. I actually like this take on the boss rush. It's not just a rehash of what you've already done. It's almost like the bosses were like, well, what we did last time clearly didn't work, so we need to try something new. Good job, Hudson Soft. Though your decision to change Nadia's fight by giving her a clone still brings up certain implications. You also have one final fight with Nitros, who uses all of his old abilities at once. And after you beat him, it's revealed that he's actually not a huge asshole. He was just brainwashed. He's actually a Bomberman, just like you. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about this plot line. I don't. I really don't. You're just a bad guy to me. Sorry, dude. After fighting your way through all the bosses again, you finally take on Bagular himself. The final battle is a 3-phase fight, and if you die, you gotta do the entire thing over again. The first phase is pretty normal. He teleports around and you gotta throw bombs at him. And then the second phase, he turns himself into a huge flying TV and you gotta throw bombs at him. And then the last phase, he turns himself into a giant robot with huge mechanical arms and lasers and missiles and you gotta throw bombs at him. You know, suddenly looking back now, I realize that none of the Bomberman bosses in this game had any sort of depth. Every single fight is just throwing bombs at them and avoiding attacks, including your own. There might be one or two that had a weak point you had to strike, but everyone else was just bomb, 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 bomb. After defeating Bagular once and for all, Bomberman flies on home, where he's congratulated and receives the type of reward that no other hero has ever gotten in his entire life. Bomberman Hero. You know, I did have fun with this game. Yeah, sure, the story was really lame, the boss fights were uninspired, and some things were just blatantly ripped off from other games, but I still liked it. You know, some of the stuff was really off the walls weird in some places, but anytime I ran into something like that, I was pretty entertained. And really, that's the most important thing when you're playing a video game. It's whether or not you're enjoying it. Bomberman Hero had a lot of issues. The game was a far departure from the standard Bomberman gameplay and tried to do something new, but that something new was something that had already been done better in various other games. The platforming was a bit shoddy thanks to the crappy camera, the story was pretty lame and borderline plagiarism, and the actual gameplay didn't have a ton of depth to it. Add in how the game constantly throws new mechanics at you up until the final world, and you get a game lacking polish and stable direction. And what was probably icing on the cake of criticisms, Bomberman Hero lacked any kind of multiplayer mode, which was a pretty big sin for a series that's practically built on its multiplayer to begin with. All that being said though, I did enjoy Bomberman Hero. It had its bad stages, but it also had its good ones. The jetpack segments were a lot of fun, and so were the helicopter stages. Furthermore, this game has a pretty jamming soundtrack. It's the type that gets stuck in your head for days because of how catchy it is. In the end though, Bomberman Hero was kind of a one-of-a-kind in the Bomberman series. No other Bomberman game that came after it ever utilized the platform mechanics that Bomberman Hero had, nor acknowledged its story. The next Bomberman game was Bomberman The Second Attack on the N64, which was a direct sequel to Bomberman 64's story. To this day, Bomberman Hero remains the black sheep of the Bomberman series. You know, it feels like there hasn't been another Bomberman game in a while. It makes you wonder if they're ever going to make another one. I mean, Hudson Soft doesn't exist as a company anymore, so whoever owns the rights to Bomberman would have to do it. Who owns the rights to Bomberman?
Konami.
Oh, that then.
What does the scouter say about his power level?
It's over 9.
Nope.